Itorydan is a two-player samurai sword fighting game where players are always one step away from death. A co-creation of Alex Matthews, who conceived of the game, and Scott Steffen, who designed the hardware, Itorydan takes inspiration from classic samurai films like Seven Samurai and fighting games like Bushido Blade, Nidhogg, and Samurai Gun. We identified 4 core areas that we wanted to focus on when seeking a union between the hardware and the gameplay. The first was the cinematic experience of being a samurai. The hardware was playtested to accommodate what players identified as being natural and fun, versus what might be historically accurate. The second was the magic of transforming a dollar store toy sword into a high-tech controller, playing on the fantasy of bringing toys to life. The third was a metagame of watching the behavior of other players to see when they might strike. The fourth was to emphasize timing, rhythm, and pacing. Itorydan was not built as a fast-paced action game, and we wanted to highlight that tension. The pitch was simple. Take a dollar store toy sword, affix an analog stick to the sheath, and a series of sensors inside the sheath that would relate the state of the player's character. We used an Arduino microcontroller and the processing programming platform to obtain and interpret data from the sword. The sword itself was augmented with an analog stick for granularity of control. Inside the sheath of the sword, we prototyped several different iterations using different sensors. Micro switches turned out to be too large, often being broken by the pushing and pulling of the sword inside the sheath. Read sensors, magnetic digital switches, were far too fragile for the animated actions our players took. In the end, we settled on analog Hall sensors, magnetic sensors activated by rare earth magnets taped to the end of the plastic blade. These afforded us reliability, small installation size, and granularity of data. We faced several challenges during installation. The swords were cheap and easily fell apart, the Hall sensors were nowhere near sensitive enough for the kinds of quick actions our players were making, and the one-to-one expectations our players had didn't match what they saw on screen. Still, the reception to Itorydan was positive, and we're continuing to prototype it through the summer of 2013.